All you shiny faces. How do we go with our lessons?
Good.
Good.
I
How's
challenged
that?
myself. Well, I didn't challenge myself, but what's the correct wording? The universe challenged me. It's like, oh, you really think you can do that? You really think that you can find your brothers and sisters everywhere?
Here we are.
Gathering by the hysterical laugh, I'm wondering just how successful you were.
Had some very interesting people show up.
That could mean a whole lot of things, V.
Well, I'll tell you one particular couple that showed up. I never even saw the girl. But because this house is so big, there's a separate section I don't use, and the landlord and I we have a partnership where we Airbnb it. So this couple had booked it, and I got up in the morning. I didn't have my car, which is another story. Um, but he parked in my carport, which is right near my door, and on the other end of the house or the other end of the property from the actual Airbnb. And I'm thinking, why would you do that?
Why would he do that?
I don't know. Anyway, I got him to move it. And when I came back after he'd moved it, there was all this rubbish that he'd obviously just, because the car was full of rubbish. And when he got out of the car, a whole bunch of it must have just fallen out with him. And he just left it there.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then checkout's 10 o'clock, and they message the landlord, who messages me and says, oh, at 10 o'clock, and says they want to check out at 1 p.m. instead.
Did you say that'll be $100 more? Certainly $100 more. That would be perfectly fine.
Sounds like a love.
What was that?
I said it sounds like a lovely tenant.
Well, luckily they're just guests. I'm only here for the weekend, so.
We just leased out our rental, brand new house. We just leased it out for 6 months, and I'm like, oh God. I mean, I walked in, I was like, I don't want anybody sleeping in my new house. It's like, I don't want it, but we have to make money, you know.
Yeah, that's the problem with brand new, and they've just yeah, I don't like tenanting brand new houses either because they're just spotless, and any little thing is going to show up. It's just I don't even like painting when I'm in, because then you've got fresh paint. It's like no, I don't need that.
Yeah, me either, but it's all good.
So I'm thinking about other ways I could have done it, because I am really curious as to why he parked in the carport. Maybe his car was leaking. I don't know. Maybe he had a good reason for it, but I never actually asked him. So it kind of makes me think about how I can approach people better. So without judgment initially, and curiosity.
Well, also not making assumptions. I find that for myself, when I start making assumptions about someone, the assumptions are actually veiled judgments and condemnations. Generally, it goes to the negative when I assume anything. And so I do my best not to do that. And yeah, that's I have something to share with you guys. It was really funny. And can I tell you guys? So my thing was, to be in the kingdom is merely to focus your full attention on it. I don't know how well I actually did that, but I think I did it to a degree in this one incident, especially in the airport. I flew to Pensacola, Florida to do this business meeting with a special group of entrepreneurs that I got invited to join. Yes, by kind of invitation only. I didn't know these people from a bowl of soup, boy, was I impressed. My head still hasn't quite settled down from all the things I learned there. It was paradigm shifting. And I was in the, where was I? Yeah, I was in the Atlanta airport, and I'm getting my my bag off of me and putting everything into the little plastic things that you put in to go through the machine. And so I put my stuff in, and I'm getting all my trays out and stuff. And the guy from way behind comes up in front of me, kind of pushes me out of the way and takes one of my trays and loads of stuff into my trays. And I thought that would normally really piss me off. I said, "Oh, alrighty then." And that's all I said. And the woman behind me, we got through the thing, and she said, "Wow, some people are just so pushy." And this just came out of my mouth. I said, "Oh, he's just an aspect of some part of myself that I haven't forgiven yet."
Mhm.
And
Wow.
it just came right
Wow.
out of my mouth. And she said, and then she said, "That's probably true." And I said, "It is true." Because I've done the exact same
Oh,
thing.
that's
So it's a
beautiful.
part of myself I've not forgiven yet. And I thought, well, horse is really sinking in at some level.
Oh,
Nice. I'm actually going to write that down
yeah.
to use that. Write it somewhere on my hand.
Tattooed on the inside of our eyelids.
So I kind of said, in order to be in the kingdom, you can't be condemning, assuming, and judging other people, or you can never be in the kingdom. So if
Yeah.
you just return it back to yourself, it makes more sense. Because in my opinion, literally, you can't, out of all the trillions of individuals and timing and circumstances that you could be in, that guy exhibited a part of me that was a totally part of me, always in a rush, irreverent, think I should come first, all that stuff I've got inside of me, which Robert has repeatedly said, "Oh my God, you're embarrassing to be with." I'm like, shut up. I'm the guy that waits at the elevator. The elevator dings, the door opens, and I walk in. And Robert's like, "Gary, you're supposed to wait till the people get off the elevator before you try to get in the elevator." And I don't be ridiculous.
Is that just a Leo thing, Gary?
I don't know what it is. I think I've tried to trace it back in time to where it actually goes, because it has been so automatic with me. And I've worked very diligently on not doing those things. And I have been successful at it. I don't do those things anymore. But boy, when Robert and I first met, he was pointing out things right, left, and center. And I'm like, "Oh, you're crazy." But he wasn't. He was absolutely right. But I think for me, it goes back to feeling like when I was a kid, I'm sick of taking care of everybody else. And I'm sick of putting up with everybody else. And I'm not going to do it anymore. And I'm going to take care of me. I think it comes from that, like the sort of anger outside myself at the lack of care that others gave me. And it wasn't like I wasn't loved. It was just like they were so dysfunctional. It's like they didn't even notice when I was suffering, So I think it's that. That's what I think it is. So it's just another level of stuff to work through. But we all have stuff like that. When we find ourselves in this knee-jerk response, like I could just see you be someone parts right side of your bedroom window, and you're like, "Damn son of a bitch, what do you think he's doing?" And you're like silently in this tornado inside yourself. Then you go out
Yes.
to verify it visually, and you're like, "Oh my God, it's really there." I can just see it and hear it. And then then it's like, where are the emotions is like someone has transgressed into my space without permission, without, necessity, and it's just to be a bitch. And
Yes.
I'm sure that happened repetitively to you as a little girl with your sister and everything else. You know, just as sort of someone's intruding on my space. So, you know,
Well,
all of it comes back to
yes,
stuff.
living in a caravan, Gary. Yes, it happens the moment you wake up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we all are carrying these deep imprints, and the beauty of it is, I really do think it is beautiful. I think the beauty of it is that we have the opportunity to heal these ancient wounds because we're aware, we're more awake than we've ever been. And as these patterns surface, we can go, boom, that's what that is. And if I forgive it and care for myself and do the right thing in the circumstance, then I start to break the pattern. And that's progress. So all these iterations of our shadow side that births forward is really is an opportunity to embrace it, forgive it, love it, and do the opposite action. And then we start breaking the cycle of our pain. And it works.
Yeah.
So I vote for that guy to come park in your covered parking again, just so you have another opportunity. Oh, bless you, brother, for some aspect of my past I cannot see. I forgive it.
I am sure I will have ample opportunity to be practicing that.
God is great and lessons are endless.
Or maybe,
Yeah.
Veronica, you make a little sign that says private parking.
Yes.
Or maybe you say, do it again, and I will slice your tires. really to the dark side.
It's like I'm really being obvious here, yes.
No, we always do
Not
things
magnanimous,
great
but obvious, yes.
I'm just joking. Don't ever do that, B.
I won't, because then he can't move his car.
That's right. Oh, because that would sort of sabotage the whole point of it, wouldn't it?
That's right. It's sabotaging everybody. And that's pretty much what it is, isn't it? When you're angry, you're sabotaging not just whoever you want to try and hurt, you're hurting yourself as well. So
Yeah.
I heard this great quote during that meeting I was in Florida, and someone said, you know, hating on someone or having a lack of forgiveness for someone is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
To die.
yeah.
Yep.
I love that quote.
I love that too. Yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful quote.
I think it's from Buddha, that one.
Is it?
It might
I
be.
think I've seen
Might
some
be, Veronica.
names on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did everyone else go with the lessons?
Yeah,
Don't all
good.
speak at once, gang.
No,
Okay.
you're just too polite. Be like Gary. Get in the elevator first.
I judged that really harshly. So let me out of the elevator. What do you think you're doing?
You'd have been the one giving me the dirtiest looks of death.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
it
I
looks could kill.
I can stink up an atmosphere. I'll leave a stinky atmosphere in the elevator for you to walk into.
I thought you were so sweet and demure. Holly. You know, talking about bodily functions. That's classic.
Overstep.
So are you going to share your lesson, Coralie?
Yeah, that was my plan. Because God's equal sons have everything, they cannot compete.
Mm.
And I love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Feeling like you're in competition, you're in the wrong space.
Yes, headspace, yes. And you think you went well with that, You had any opportunities to see it?
Only sort of in myself, and it's just I felt like I was doing pretty well with that, actually, with just not being in competition.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Andrea, you sound like you had a win this week.
Yeah, I changed mine. I changed mine to you are always teaching. And then the minute I grabbed that, it turned around and said, and you are always learning. And I went, oh, yeah. Yeah, yes. And I had an opportunity. This is the third or fourth time, because I live in this place that that I wish I wasn't at the moment, but this is where I am. And obviously, this was part of the lesson, is a woman who couldn't speak English suddenly showed up at my window when I was meditating early in the morning. It was like 5:30 in the morning. And she's talking to me in Spanish and saying, nobody understands me. Can you help me? And so I'm talking with her, and she tells me there's a lady that's fallen in the parking lot. So I go out. I said, let me get dressed. I threw on some clothes, ran out to the parking lot, and there's this woman seated on the asphalt in the parking lot. And she's got the whole side of her face is bloody, and her wrist is swelling, and she's just a mess, poor thing. And turns out she'd been sitting there since 1:45 in the morning. And there's this mist coming down. And I said, I'm Audria. Can I call 911 for you? Nope. I don't want 911. Because when Linda fell, she died. No, when Jane fell, she died. I said, I know Jane. It took 2 years and she was in and out of hospitals. No, but she died. I said, I hate to tell you, but we're all gonna die. There was dead silence. And then she looked at me and she said, are you smiling? And I said, no, I'm not smiling. I said, I'm rather dismayed with your attitude. And I said, I tell you what, I cannot in good conscience leave you lying on the pavement, sitting on the pavement here. I've got to go to PT in just a few minutes. And I said, I'm calling 911. No, you're not. I said, yes, I am. I said, I apologize for overriding your desires, but I am doing this. So I put my phone on speaker so that she could hear what I was doing. And I said, she wouldn't give me her name. And I said, there is a woman who is sitting, fell down, said she was throwing trash out at 2:00 in the morning. And she's been sitting in the rain and is shaking almost uncontrollably. She's bruised, and she doesn't want help. And I am calling against her wishes. I apologize for that, but I can't leave her sitting here and she can't get up. She's been trying to get up for hours. So they came, and she was fighting the whole time. And I just thought, there's something not right. This is something not right mentally. And then I got a very strong message. She was drinking. It just came to me, and that's why she fell down. I didn't say anything. And I just said, I've got to leave. And she said, well, I'm not going to the hospital. I'm not doing this because I'm going to die. And I said, you know something, you're a beautiful woman. I bent down to her and I said, you're a beautiful woman, and you obviously care enough to bother to put makeup on. I said, I hope that you can find something inside of you to please take care of yourself, and please let yourself be helped, because I understand how you feel, because I've been there and I don't want to ask for help either. I hope you do. And I just put some angels on your shoulder, little light ones. Okay? I said, and these people are here to help you. And I just started walking away, and I went, I don't know that I handled that well because I could feel my anger rising. And I went, that's because you just told her the truth. You do not ask for help when you need help. And you may not have sat in the tarmac for 5 hours, but when I needed help, Gary, that's why reaching out to you was so huge. I'm not accustomed to saying, I need help. I can't do this. I need help. And I realized, oh, that was the lesson, is that I needed to ask, in spite of your fear, ask. And then I also got another download which said, this is the third time you've been an angel in someone's life and you've saved their lives by being there and by going against what their wishes were. But I could not in good conscience let this woman sit there in the rain, shaking, bloody. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. So it was a teaching and a lesson. It was both. And it really shocked me. It really was intense.
Awesome. Another part of yourself you've got to forgive.
In your face, Miss Firestone. Okay, okay.
Joe, you've been sitting there so quietly. Listening to all these stories.
Just
How did you
observing. I kept mine going for from the previous week. I am with you always, and really, what I've noticed over this week is I've been spending more time with myself, with asking those tough questions and examining things that have been sitting on the back burner, changes that needed to be made or decisions needed to be made, and working through things and just seeing what I can accomplish on my own. Because like Idrea, I struggle with asking for help. It's not easy, but I've learned recently that you can't do everything by yourself. So it's finding out, what do I need to ask help for to move through things, and what can I do on my own? So it's been another lovely week.
So good. Shall we start our little reading then? Let's see if Kindle's going to show up properly. Shut down again. Give me a second. Okay. Here we go. Can we see the screen? And we're up to, so we're up to number 4, which is right at the top. Gary, do you want to start us off?
Sure. To be in the kingdom is merely to focus your full attention on it. As long as you believe you can attend to what is not true, you're accepting conflict as your choice. Is it really a choice? It seems to be, but seeming and reality are hardly the same. You who are the kingdom are not concerned with seeming. Reality is yours because you are reality. This is how having and being are ultimately reconciled, not in the kingdom, but in your mind. The altar, there is the only reality. The altar is perfectly clear in thought because it is a reflection of perfect thought. Your right mind sees only brothers because it sees only in its own light.
Have we had an altar before?
Yes.
Have we?
Yes, it was a little while ago, and there was some kind of, what's the word for it? A bit of pushback on it.
Mm.
because yes, there was the feeling that the altar is some external thing, which is, you know, for sacrifice and all this kind of thing. But when we investigated it a little bit further, the altar is actually, it's in our, it's in within ourselves. So it's nothing, it's just part of us. It's not an external thing. It's kind of what we came to last time. But you know, we read these things and then we have a whole other insight the next time around. So
Mm.
what were you thinking, Coralie, when you heard altar?
I just was thinking, oh, we don't usually come up with like solid things in the call.
Yes.
And my mind automatically went to that being a solid thing, and all the stuff that you were just saying that we talked about last time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it says the altar is perfectly clear in thought because it is a reflection of perfect thought. I'm questioning whether it is actually a solid thing or whether it's a metaphorical thing. It says the altar is the only reality. So that can't be a solid thing.
I agree.
It says this is now having and being are ultimately reconciled, not in the kingdom, but in your mind. The altar there is the only reality. The altar is perfectly clear in thought. So it has to be the thought of having and being reconciled in the mind.
And Gary, to further what you're saying, if we just give a different stress to the sentence, that this is how having and being are ultimately reconciled in your mind. The altar there, meaning the altar in your mind, is the only
Which is your
reality.
focus. Yeah, which is your focus of mind.
Right.
Because it said the kingdom, in our previous reading, to be in the kingdom is merely to focus your full attention on it.
On it, right.
So that must be the reconciliation of having and being in the mind.
Fascinating. And that the
What
altar
are the rest of you guys? Yeah, what are the rest of everybody think of that interpretation? Do you think that's on, or do you think there's some other facets to it? I'm looking at Coralie specifically because she looks very inquisitive.
Yeah. Okay, so I would now read that then, that that the altar is your clarity of mind.
I think the clarity and the oneness of mind, like choosing to see through into brotherhood and sisterhood rather than judgment and assumption. That's what I'm picking up, but there may be more to it than that.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other comments on that paragraph? Do we think we get it?
I love that this is how having and being are ultimately reconciled, because I was kind of mulling over something. I'm starting to do a bit more journaling and realizing how in like creating visions of what your life is, what you want it to be, and you know, the ultimate perfect day kind of thing. That as I've gone through life and things that have appeared, like what's it, like when you set yourself a kind of wealth, being an accountant, a wealth kind of this is what it will be when I'm wealthy kind of thing. And I've noticed with some people, with some friends actually this week, that I have set the bar on where I live and there is no compromise on it, and therefore it shows up. I have no compromise on it. There is no disbelief about it. There is no doubt. This is the level of how I want to live my life, where I live, the space that I create, the people I have around me. And in the meantime, I'm seeing other people who've set their bar so low and they wonder why they can't get any further. but it's the same for me. I want to get further, but I feel like there's some doubt about it. So it's creating more of the certainty by praying at the altar of what is me, what is my mind, what is my soul, what is my purpose. And that's how I'm kind of reading this one. And I think the doubt kind of gets in the way, and our limiting beliefs kind of get in the way from us
Yeah.
being there. Cool. Number 5.
Would
Shall I
like to
read
read-
number 5? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Go for it, V.
Well, Joe, that's a short one. Do you want to do that one? It's the
Sure.
end one too. So it's usually pretty profound.
God has lit your mind himself and keeps your mind lit by his light because his light is what your mind is. This is totally beyond question. And when you question it, you are answered. The answer merely undoes the question by establishing the fact that to question reality is to question meaninglessly. That is why the Holy Spirit never questions. His sole function is to undo the questionable and thus lead to certainty. The certain are perfectly calm because they are not in doubt. They do not raise questions because nothing questionable enters their mind. This holds them in perfect certainty because this is what they share, knowing what they are.
I feel like that's what I was trying to say.
I was just going to say that, Veronica. Yeah.
I honestly didn't read ahead, but that's, certainty, doubt, it's all there.
Mhm.
That first sense is something to just hold on to and remember every day. Especially people like Gary and I who have those million thoughts a millisecond while trying to sit there in meditation.
Yeah.
And what comes to me when I hear this is that indeed it's always my questioning and doubting that my wish and my desire that God has lit my mind himself and it's with light, and then I'm questioning that I would like this, and then I'm saying, oh, but I was taught that if I do that, I'm being selfish. I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other, and it dilutes the intention and allows the vision to be broken apart, and then it doesn't have focus and it doesn't have reality happen. And I've caught that, and for me it's part of trauma, and it's part of having that you don't deserve, you're unworthy of what you would like, and that has what has been in my way. And so if uniting with the divine mind will relieve that, and that's the challenge for me, is to be able to stay there, or to coax myself back lovingly back onto the path and say that light is there, trust that light. That's always been a challenge for me. Yeah.
Beautiful.
The certain are perfectly calm because they are not in doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Oof, I have been assailed and assailed and assailed by doubt. And not trusting, not just knowing what they are, but not trusting who I am.
Yeah.
And we're all divine.
You writing notes, Gary?
I am.
This one's on page 117, if you want to refer back to it. Shall we go to the next section, which looks very interesting? Healing as the recognition of truth.
Yeah.
Anyone want to read number 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Truth can only be recognized and need only be recognized. Inspiration is of the Holy Spirit and certainly is of God according to his laws. Both, therefore, come from the same source. Since inspiration comes from the voice for God, and certainty comes from the laws of God. I've got to read that again. Truth can only be recognized and need only be recognized. Inspiration is of the Holy Spirit, and certainty is of God according to his laws. Both, therefore, come from the same source, since inspiration comes from the voice for God, and certainty comes from the laws of God. Healing does not come directly from God, who knows his creations as perfectly whole. Yet healing is still of God because it proceeds from his voice and from his laws. It is their result in a state of mind that does not know him. The state is unknown to him and therefore does not exist, but those who sleep are unaware. Because they are unaware, they do not know. Wow.
Mm.
That's big.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yes, this one will need a bit of unpacking.
Healing does not come directly from God because God knows his creations are perfectly whole. But healing is still of God because it proceeds from his voice and from his laws. What is their result? In this state of mind,
So we are perfect, but sometimes we need inspiration to realize that we're perfect, and the inspiration comes from God.
because sometimes we're asleep.
Yes.
And we don't know. We lose our state of perfect wholeness.
Mm-hmm. We lose our certainty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want to
wonder if his voice is sonic healing. I wonder.
I was just going to go there, actually.
Really?
Yeah, and I just keep reading this over and over and over again, and where it says, therefore come from the same source, since inspiration comes from the voice of God,
Yep.
and certainty comes from the laws of God.
For the voice for God, which is
it's the voice for God.
Voice for God.
Yeah, that makes it a little different.
Yeah, so that's
Healing
the Holy
does not,
Spirit.
Yeah, healing does not come directly from God, who knows his creations is perfectly whole, because God doesn't judge, so therefore it would not see anything but perfection. Yet healing is still of God because it proceeds from his voice and from his law.
laws.
Now, who would like to give a stab at what do you think they are meaning by God's laws? I kind of get what they're saying about God's voice, but from his laws. So how I'm interpreting that is the laws are very much like the focus of your mind is your prayer. You know, whatever you extend your mind to, if it's seen through the eyes of the Holy Spirit, you're seeing in your right mind. If it's seeing separation, you're seeing in your divided mind. That I would see as the laws of God. Does anybody see anything extending beyond that?
Well, there is only
As
fear
far
and love. So
Right.
yeah, the laws. It's the first time I think they've said that, the laws of
I
God.
know. I know. It just kind of threw me a little bit.
And, you know, we could go through and summarize the previous 116 pages and come up with a whole bunch of laws. But I think it's a lot simpler than that.
I hope so.
I think it's just about unconditional love and at one-man, isn't it, really?
That's how I would interpret it.
Yeah.
Carly,
And
you look
everything's
very
been-
contemplative. What are your feelings about the laws?
Well, I thought it might be like the universal laws, sort of law of vibration and stuff like that. But then just like what V was saying, it all just comes down to love.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I remember
say.
Wendy saying months ago as well, whenever you get confused about what they mean through this book, just replace it with love. So, you know, if you have you know, some historical pushback on God, then just replace it with love. The Holy Spirit, love, just make it all love. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
It does. Makes it much simpler.
Yes, because we have a whole perspective around laws as well, which makes it, and altars as well was another example of how the word can bring up connotations which are not really, which may not be how it's written in this particular text.
I got a question for y'all. In what Gary was just reading, the word who is capitalized. And that's the first time I've seen who capitalized. Who knows his creations as perfectly whole? So is that referring
To God.
to God? Okay.
Yeah, every time they put in capitals. Every time it's in capitals, it seems like it's either God, the Holy Spirit, or Jesus.
Which is all the same as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome, Callie.
Oh, it's Carly here.
Yeah.
I'm late by 45 minutes.
You're here, that's what matters.
I just love even that first sentence. Truth can only be recognized and need only be recognized. So there's nothing to actually do. And from someone who always feels the need to do something, that's quite a relief, really.
You know, I keep thinking, you know, and this always goes back to that age-old quote from the Course in Miracles that I've loved since I've heard it like 30 years ago, was you walk hand in hand into heaven with your brothers and your sisters, because it is through the recognition of the divine in other people, that is really the true temple, the true altar. It's the way that you remember God is everywhere and recognize it as everywhere. And when we stop our assumptions and our judgments, and our condemnations of others, and we choose to see only our brothers, then there is no division, there is no fear, there's only the celebration of the divine. Now, I can't do that yet, but I get sparks of it. I get little insights into it. I get a second or two when I can feel that. But that is, in my opinion, the way home. Is I reached a deep state of peace where I see the Lord in all things. I go to this place called Lake Balboa. Oftentimes, Robert and I do an early evening walk right as the sun is setting, and it's over this trail that goes over the spillway of this big lake. And in the evenings, right at dusk, there are flocks of Canadian geese that come in and land in the lake, and they're right above your head, and they're squawking like big Canadian geese do. And if you've ever heard it, it's a beautiful sound. And when I look up, it's one of my favorite things on the planet is to hear the geese coming into the lake for the night, and to just look up and think, what an amazing expression of God they are. Like, what an amazing set of creatures they are, and feel truly like that is God in another form that is just as valuable as me, but in another form, meeting some other need on the planet. And if we could walk around like that, how much ecstasy do you think that we could be in? We could walk around in a lot of ecstasy. A lot. And so the vehicle towards oneness is not something I have to achieve in here necessarily. It's my perception of what I'm choosing to give meaning to outside myself. And it could be anything. Like I have almost a floor to ceiling window in my office. Let's see if I can show you. That guy. And it goes across the entire wall. And I look out on a pine forest, and a little baby deer walking around and doing all, and I could just sit inside and appreciate the life forms, myriad life forms that are outside of. What if we were able to use everything that we witnessed and saw? Generally, do that so much different than me, but rather than that, something that is so akin, the same voice of God animating the cells of the body that is different than me is animating mine. So where is the difference between me and that other form? And ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think there is a difference. I don't think there is. We have fish in our pond, and we have our pump's been broken. Robert just got it fixed because he's super handy. And when we look out of our kitchen window, I'm endlessly doing dishes, and I see the fish just swimming back and forth in the waterfall. I think that's an incredible expression of God that I get to take care of. And what if we just viewed life like a viewing?
Gary? Oh, you just cut out there for a bit. Sorry.
Am I off now?
Yeah.
I think
I'm going to stop sharing the screen as well because we're not going to fit another one in. And I can see you all.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
I just did mics because I think my Yeti mic unplugged from the back of my computer.
We just missed all that gold though.
Oh, I don't even know what I said.
Oh, now.
Well, no, I do remember. I was just saying, what if we could walk around our lives and looking at all the myriad different forms of life around us, thinking in that it is the exact same essence that's animating that different combination of cells than I am. And there's no hierarchy. There's simply another expression of God in that life form. And what if I walked hand and fin or hand and wing with these other life forms around me? How much ecstasy do you think that we could produce? How much joy could we produce? I don't think that there is a lack of ecstasy, God's love, and joy around us. I think that it has been the limitation of our perspectives that have actually caused us to not see the divine in all things. For me, my challenge is going to be that I choose to see it in more things this coming week.
It's easy to do with animals too, I find. Not so much with humans.
So much easier.
Yeah.
Human beings, it's like, oh no, no, not them.
There's the challenge, yes, but they're your brothers, so. Carly.
I love what you just shared and the fish and the waterfall, because just witnessing, being the witness of creation like that, because the waterfall's oxygenating the water and creating the fish to be at the most harmonious in nature. And then basically you became the witness of the miracle of life. And so then you're in awe of that. And when you're in awe of that perfection, then you're one with the kingdom and its laws in its perfection. And so mine is focus full attention on the awe of the kingdom.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Wow.
Mine is your right mind sees only brothers because it sees only in its own light.
Nice.
Carly?
I picked the same as Gary, and I'm keeping it.
Keep it, Carly. It's a good one.
I was going to do, I am in perfect serenity, because this is what I share, knowing what I am certain. But I think it would be far more of the lesson to recognize the divine in others. They are only brothers, sisters and brothers. I think that would be a more powerful lesson for me.
Awesome.
Joe, are you ready?
Yes. Kind of got two going, but they sort of work hand in hand as well. So the new one is because they are unaware, they do not know, and continuing with, I am always with you.
Adria?
Me, it's inspiration comes from the voice for God.
Mm. Linda, can you join us, or are you busy with your hands in the garden?
No, I can join you. So I'm going to go sort of a similar thing with Carly, and that's focus on the vision. And I've forgotten the rest. I'll remember it and write it down.
Okay. Beautiful. So we've got everybody. Okay. Thanks everybody for showing up and sharing. Oh, hello, puppy. He's hardly grown. He looks so small.
Beautiful. Oh, you're gorgeous. I can just feel that beautiful curly fur. How beautiful.
Okay, we'll see you all next week then.
Okay,
great
Bea,
week,
thank
everyone.
you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.